Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Chainlink, both with its valuation against the US dollar and against Bitcoin. So if you guys like the content, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, turn your notifications on. Check out the Telegram channel here, which you can find a link to in the description below if you want to discuss these charts with other people. We have around 3,300, almost 3,400 people in the Telegram group. And if you want access to premium content, you can check out my website at intothecryptoverse.com. So let's go ahead and jump in. So, here we're just plotting the price of Link on a logarithmic scale. So again, this is going from 10 cents to $1 and $1 to $10. So it gives you a better appreciation for these, these bubbles that kind of occur somewhat frequently. And then we go back into an accumulation phase. You'll see another bubble occur, a retracement. And Link kind of continues to do this over and over and over again, where it goes through these mini bubbles and then a retracement. But it's outperformed Bitcoin by several times over the last 2 years, which is why it's an interesting coin to follow. We've been following it for a while now, and I think it's definitely a coin that I will have my eyes on in the next market cycle, because it's already proven itself to outperform Bitcoin in the bear market. So it'll be interesting to see how it does if Bitcoin can confirm a transition to the bull market. So one of the things we've talked about is a transition to the bull market for Bitcoin would be Bitcoin holding the 20-week moving average as support. So until we hold it as support, we're not really in a bull market quite yet, or at least we might be in the beginning stages of it, but we don't know until the 20-week moving average is held as support. And we've shown how Link behaves when Bitcoin is above the 20-week moving average. We talk about the fact that most altcoins perform much better when Bitcoin is above this key milestone than when it's below it. And here's a good example. If it's colored red, we've shown this before, Bitcoin is above the 20-week moving average. So in this region, here too, here, and we've just gone above the 20-week moving average with regards to Bitcoin. If you see it yellow, it's when Bitcoin is below the 20-week moving average. So when Bitcoin's below the 20-week, the price of Link isn't really doing a whole lot. It's more or less just moving sideways, oscillating up and down, but it isn't doing a whole lot. It's when Bitcoin gets above the 20-week moving average, which is where Bitcoin is right now, that we see a strong move from Chainlink. And remember, if Bitcoin were to drop down to the 20-week moving average tomorrow and drop below it, then clearly the value of Link is likely going to bleed as well, both with respect to fiat and with respect to Bitcoin in the short term. But if Bitcoin can maintain itself above the 20-week moving average, which I think at present day is around $8,200, so as long as you see Bitcoin staying above $8,200 over the next few weeks and months, then it would be reasonable to potentially expect another move from Link, like we've seen happen in the past. You can see this one here. We went from around 15 cents to over $1. This one we went from around 40 cents to $3. The one earlier this year, it was shorter, but we went from a little over $2 up to $4. So clearly we know that based on historical patterns, Link does well when Bitcoin's above the 20-week. And you can see that we've just popped above the 20-week now, at least Bitcoin has. So I'm very closely watching Link, and note that it can be a lagging indicator, meaning the minute that Bitcoin pops above the 20-week, it tends to perform better than a lot of other coins, because a lot of other coins are waiting to see what Bitcoin's going to do. The longer that Bitcoin stays above the 20-week and just kind of maintains its bullish mode, it's giving more credence to other coins like Link to break out themselves. You can see back in 2017, when Bitcoin first got above the 20-week moving average, the valuation of Link with respect to USD bled for a little while before spiking. And then you can also see that it tends to come back down before Bitcoin falls below the 20-week. So basically Bitcoin, the reason for that is Bitcoin is dropping back down to the 20-week, and then also the valuation of Link is dropping as well. And then once Bitcoin drops below the 20-week, then the valuation of Link just tends to either go down or more or less just move sideways or so. So again, here back in 2019, when Bitcoin first got above the 20-week, we saw kind of a downward momentum for a little bit before spiking upwards. Here, it went up a little, but it kind of moved sideways for at least a few days or a couple weeks or so before spiking. And then now we're again in the early stages of this move. And the manner in which we would expect something similar to, a spike like these would be as long as Bitcoin continues to stay above the 20-week and doesn't like immediately fall below it. Because if it immediately falls below the 20-week, then essentially all bets are off. Now, I know there's a lot of Link Marines out there watching the show, and I'm super happy to have you here. I'm bullish on Chainlink long term, but just remember, we on this channel we don't just say it's going to go up and up and up. We look at the data, and clearly it's one of the most powerful coins right now in terms of its price action. But by identifying what causes catalysts in the price of Link, it can help maybe you manage your own investments in a smarter way than you otherwise would have. Now, this is not financial advice. Just want to remind you of that. I am just the data messenger. This chart shows the valuation of Link with respect to Bitcoin, and this is what I posted. This was a while back, so this was probably the last time I posted a video of Link. This was the chart, and I drew these trend lines here. They're obviously just imaginary trend lines to guide the eye. Clearly we can break above or below them. But then I posted a tweet. If you follow me on Twitter, I showed this move here. And then that was a week or two ago. And then since then we've seen, it kind of pop up a little bit and continue to go up this curve. Now, if we superimpose the 20-week moving average, it tells a slightly different story. But more or less what you can gain from this is that when Bitcoin is above the 20-week, Link tends to gain valuation against Bitcoin. Okay, so you can see it here. It gains valuation against Bitcoin. Here, it gains valuation against Bitcoin. And here, it gains valuation against Bitcoin. When Bitcoin is below the 20-week moving average, the valuation against Bitcoin tends to just, move sideways for the most part. You'll see it maybe go down and come back up, or go up and then come back down. But if you just say take from point A to point B, it's not really changing a whole lot. And you might say, well, it's changing some, Ben. Well, of course, it's going to change some, but it's not changing in the way that it's changing when Bitcoin is above the 20-week. You can see it's completely night and day, the comparison between what happens when Bitcoin is above the 20-week versus when it's below it. So it's completely different, and this is why when Bitcoin drops below the 20-week, I tend to consolidate a lot of my coins back into Bitcoin and or stable coins. It has nothing to do with the fact that I don't value these other coins. It's just based on the data. Holding Bitcoin during that time tends to work out for the better. Now, specifically for Link, Link has tended to outperform Bitcoin, even in bearish territory, which is why if you look back over the last couple years, Link has outperformed Bitcoin by several times. So just keep these things in mind so that you're looking out for what might be occurring in the coming weeks if Bitcoin either stays above the 20-week moving average or what you might expect if we were to drop below it. I also want to reiterate that again, while I am bullish on Link, it's going to be hard for Link to continue in this uptrend channel forever, because note that Link was gaining against Bitcoin significantly when also Bitcoin was dropping in value. So Link was continuing to go up based on its projected utility and what Link is going to be used for. But it was if Bitcoin is going from say 10,000 to 100,000 over the next 3 years, then it's likely going to be harder for Link to continue gaining on Bitcoin. Now, of course, if the price of Bitcoin is going up, then the price of Link is also likely going to go up. But what we're saying is that the valuation with respect to Bitcoin is likely not going to continue going up at the same pace. And I just drew another imaginary line on here to show that we might expect this this trend to get trapped in say something in this region rather than continuing to spike. And you can see that each of these spikes is becoming less and less when Bitcoin is above the 20-week moving average. So at least take this into consideration. It's better to have the knowledge in your head rather than not have it. So I don't think that the data is going to hurt you. At least I think, if anything, I think it should help you. This is another graph I made of Chainlink. Basically, the yellow line is just minimizing the sum of the logarithmic difference between the price and a logarithmic regression equation that is just 10 raised to the power a, and this is all in parentheses, a times ln of x minus b, where x is the number of days and a and b are fitted coefficients. So that's the yellow line with a tolerance there, and then the red line is kind of our speculative bubble peak, and then our green area is kind of our accumulation, our heavy accumulation. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have been accumulating Link in the yellow band too, but if you're in the green band, then it seems to be a much better time to accumulate if you don't actually hold any Link at the time. So you can imagine that if Bitcoin gets above the 20, or if it stays above the 20-week moving average for weeks or months, then we would probably expect a breakout of Link. If we were to go to the top of this speculative bubble, let's suppose that we go to the top here and not into this region. I think for us to get into this region up here, like we did back in 2017, 2018, then Bitcoin really is going to need to go on its own bull run itself and start really cranking its way up the price ladder. But if we say go back up to the red band, which is where we went in 2019, then it could put us at around a $7 to $8 price per Link. And this, of course, is if Bitcoin continues to remain above the 20-week. If Bitcoin falls below the 20-week, then I anticipate maybe the price would come back down into the yellow band. Here we're going to look at the ROI of Link. So this is the 30-day ROI. It's actually quite interesting because of how many times your 30-day ROI would have been around 2. I mean, you can see, here it's above 2. In early 2018, it's above 2. In second quarter 2018, there's a month that's above 2. In early 2019, we saw a month where you would have seen a 2x. In early summer, there was a 3x. In July, there was a 4x. And again, this is just your 30-day ROI. So it's actually quite impressive. Of course, there's going to be times where you see losses as well. But again, as we've shown, the price of Link has continued to move up more or less, but I mean, it moves up and then it retraces some. So it kind of does this thing where it goes 2 steps forward and 1 step back, which is much better than a lot of other cryptocurrencies and bear markets, which tend to take 1 step forward and 10 steps back. So from that perspective, Link is doing quite well, and it's one of the reasons why I follow the coin. And my advice to people who are holding, 100 different altcoins, if all they ever do is bleed value with respect to Bitcoin, then what's the point of holding them? Like you want to seek out the winners. You want to find the winners, the ones that continue to either gain value on Bitcoin, or at least the ones that oscillate with Bitcoin. If they're just constantly losing value against Bitcoin, then it's probably not a good coin to be holding. Again, this is not financial advice. I'm sure you could find a scenario where a coin bled for a really long time and then saw a spike up. But for the most part, you want to find the winners, not the ones that are just constantly losing value. Here we're showing the 90-day ROI, so it's kind of impressive. You can see, 2 times essentially where we're seeing a 90-day ROI of 4 to 5 or 5 to 6, or actually this is up to 7. So this is pretty impressive with Link. And note that the time spent above 1, meaning a return on investment of 1, is more than the time we're spending below 1. So this is obviously a good sign and makes sense with what we've shown in the previous graphs. Now the 365-day ROI, which is the 1-year ROI, is interesting as well because you can see that there was a period of time where we were below 1, and this makes sense because the entire cryptocurrency market was crashing, and we were comparing back to the 2018 highs. But since then, the 1-year ROI has been fairly impressive. Now it has been decreasing for a while now, but even at its current levels, the 1-year ROI on Link is still around 2 to 3x. So this is, these are definitely things you want to see rather than a lot of coins that are, 0.3x over the last year or so. Finally, here I wanted to show the return on investment of Link compared to Bitcoin. And note that it's normalized. So first of all, we're looking at a logarithmic scale on the y-axis, and then we're also looking at a logarithmic scale on the x-axis. And the x-axis is just days since inception, so you can get a better appreciation for how Link has performed in the early days compared to Bitcoin. So, comparatively speaking, Link did pretty well early on, but again, this was because of when it was launched back when we had the last bull market. But even here, we're not, the ROI of Link so far is, let's say, so this is 1, so 2, 3, around 4x or so. So I mean, this is pretty impressive. Clearly, at the same point, Bitcoin was a few times higher, but it kind of gives you a better appreciation too for what Bitcoin has seen. A lot of people think, just because Link has had such a good last couple years, then it has to be getting burned out soon. I mean, obviously, this is not necessarily true. And in fact, Bitcoin was already, a few times higher than where Link is now, and then it still went into a pretty major parabolic move, despite being a lot further along than Link is at the same time. So, as far as I'm concerned, if you're holding coins, if you're holding Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, these coins, Cardano is one. It's good to pick out coins that you believe in. I know a lot of people aren't going to always believe in the coins that I believe in, but Link is certainly one of them. And a lot of people obviously think, cryptocurrency investments are inherently risky, and they are. And just remember, as I've said many times, there's also a risk to not holding them as well, especially if it could mean missing out on a future parabolic move. Now, with that said, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you want premium content, I do provide it. I basically put out a weekly report on different cryptocurrencies. It also comes with a premium video. We also have a dashboard that I'm making so that you can follow along with what I'm thinking. If you want to check that out, then just go again to my website. It's just intothecryptoverse.com. You can sign up, and if you want to save, you can pay with cryptocurrency for either 6 or 12 months. So I hope this video has been informative to everyone. I hope looking at the data from a different perspective is useful rather than just pulling up TradingView. And again, if you guys like the content, at least subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.